EastEnders spirals into utter turmoil next week, as one character is gunned down by an unknown attacker, while the rest are left fearing for their safety. What should have been a blissful day marking Patrick and Yolande's wedding quickly unravels into a living nightmare, reveals a source. It's an incredibly chilling ordeal, with one resident confirmed to be in grave danger, while everyone else hides in fear, dreading that the shooter might strike once more. The firearm originally belonged to drug peddler Oki, who instructed Harry Mitchell to get rid of it. Overcome with panic, Harry buried the gun, but when Ravi Gulati later ordered him to dig it up, it had vanished without a trace. As the week unfolds, it emerges that Oscar Branning stumbled across the missing weapon. In a rare moment of responsibility, the wayward teen informs Jack Branning about his startling find, leaving the detective stunned by what he discovers. Oscar came across the firearm, but now he's desperate to get rid of it, and quickly, our insider reveals. He trusts his uncle Jack, so turns to him for help, pleading for guidance. Jack isn't thrilled about the situation, but realizes he has no choice but to step in. However, what neither of them know is that Ravi has overheard their exchange and is now fully aware of where the weapon has been hidden. Determined to reclaim the gun, Ravi sneaks into number 27 to retrieve it. He manages to get his hands on it, but his movements don't go unnoticed, as Denise Fox catches sight of her ex creeping out of the property. Shaken, Denise rushes straight to the Vic to inform Jack about what she's witnessed. Jack quickly pieces the puzzle together and realizes Ravi must have been searching for the missing firearm. With tensions already high between the old love rivals, Jack wastes no time in confronting him. What unfolds afterwards is being kept strictly under wraps for now, but moments later, a gunshot echoes through Albert Square, leaving the entire community reeling in shock. It's utter mayhem inside the Vic, our source hints. As soon as news of the gunfire spreads, many of the wedding guests take refuge in the pub, ducking down in fear that a gunman could still be on the loose. The immediate threat eventually eases, but the situation turns even more devastating once it's revealed which Walford local has been critically injured in the turmoil. One resident's fate hangs by a thread, but the burning questions remain. Who has been left fighting for survival, and who was behind the trigger? An arrest is made after EastEnders revisits gruesome death from the past. Oscar Branning has been taken into custody after launching an attack on Patrick Truman in EastEnders during an episode that also revisited one of the soap's darkest deaths. The atmosphere inside the Truman household was explosive after Oscar's shocking confession, leaving Patrick deeply shaken. He soon collapsed into another panic attack, forcing his loved ones to rush to his side. Patrick's son, Anthony, was livid upon discovering the truth, and Jack Branning had to step in to prevent him from striking out in anger. Anthony was adamant that the police should handle the matter, unable to believe Patrick was willing to pause and reflect on his next steps instead of seeking justice immediately. But the question remains, who actually alerted the authorities about Oscar? Let's recap. What happened to Patrick in EastEnders? Oscar grew fearful for his family's safety after his former mate, the menacing Fat Mike, threatened them with violence. Mike demanded £5,000 to back off. When Lauren discovered the dangerous situation, she cut short her maternity leave, returned to work, and managed to raise some money by selling cars and securing an advance on her salary. That evening, Lauren secretly handed Mike the money to make him back off. Unaware of her actions, Oscar foolishly broke into the Truman home, intending to snatch Patrick's betting shop takings. He was caught red-handed, and in a frantic bid to keep his identity hidden, shoved the elderly man to the ground. Who uncovered Oscar's reckless crime? Lauren was the first to learn the truth, though neither sibling realized that someone very close to Patrick had also picked up on it. Howie Daines, arriving on the scene just after Patrick's assault, ended up with Oscar's ankle tag in his possession. Using it to his advantage, Howie attempted to blackmail the pair for the stolen cash. Lauren, however, refused to let him intimidate them, insisting he had no solid proof linking her brother to the break-in. But Howie was determined to prove otherwise, producing damning evidence: the balaclava and clothes Oscar had worn during the burglary. By the end of last week, a remorseful Oscar drowned his guilt in alcohol before confessing everything to his Uncle Jack. Jack found himself in a tricky position, given that his partner Denise Fox is practically a daughter to Patrick. But Denise had faced a similar moral crossroads before, back when she was tangled up in Keanu Taylor's death, and she knew she couldn't stand by and watch Oscar throw his future away. Who actually shopped Oscar to the police? The mystery of who reported Oscar remains unsolved, leaving fans guessing. Anthony is the most obvious suspect, given his explosive anger towards Oscar since Patrick's attack, and many wouldn't be surprised if he involved the police to make him pay. Kim Fox is another contender. She's been watching Howie's unusually cold reaction to Patrick with growing suspicion. Sharp and fiery, she wouldn't hesitate to act if she senses injustice. But she doesn't yet know Howie stole Patrick's betting shop winnings for himself. Torn between protecting Oscar and hiding his own deceit, his lies are only getting more dangerous. Meanwhile, Peter Beale has openly opposed Oscar since his July return, branding him trouble. His hostility may not be solely about Oscar's actions. Some believe it's been fueled by his mother Cindy, whose manipulative ways have stirred tension and may be guiding Peter more than his own judgment. Cindy drags up the past to discredit Oscar. In the latest episode, Peter sought advice from Cindy after hearing the full extent of Oscar's dodgy behavior. She wasted no time twisting the knife, telling her son that Oscar's presence has only disrupted their family life, and accusing Lauren of failing to keep her brother on the straight and narrow. Cindy wasn't finished stirring the pot. She later cornered Anthony and brought up the subject of Oscar's dad, Max. It was a particularly cutting move on her part, considering she was presumed dead during Max's heyday in Walford. She's well aware of Max's hand in her eldest son Stephen's tragic death, and now claims Oscar is following in his father's footsteps. Could Anthony have thought back to Stephen's demise and decided to tip off the police about Oscar? Stephen's last chapter in Walford saw him romantically linked to Lauren before straying with her sister Abby. He even fabricated a brain tumour in a desperate bid to keep Lauren by his side. But when Max discovered the truth, his fury was explosive. Manipulated by his father, Stephen set fire to the Beals' restaurant in an attempt to silence Jane Beal. Yet when guilt kicked in and he tried to rescue her, Max forcefully shoved him against a counter. The violent blow left Stephen with fatal abdominal injuries, and he later passed away in hospital, not long after discovering Abby was carrying his child. EastEnders continues Mondays to Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. on BBC One, with episodes dropping early from 6 a.m. on BBC iPlayer.